So I came across this. Win tickets to the Garden of Eden. Think about this. Now, this is from one of my favourite breweries, Williams Brothers. And of course, those who have seen my vids on, various platforms over the years, I'm definitely a fan of their porter called Midnight Sun. And even when you look into the background of that, it's ball deep in the account. But anyway, it's still a really, really nice porter. And of course, they have another beer called Fruch, which is a heather ale. I mean, don't get me wrong, they do other very fine ales and whatever, craft beers, etc. But it was this. I'm thinking to myself, Eden Festival, and all I'm seeing is occultism. I mean, like I've said it over the years, and I really do think that people are missing this. When you look at the operation of government and councils and universities, etc. And remember, many of them are, at least on the surface, in positions of some quite austere authority, that they have to make the big decisions, blah, blah, blah. We have to implement policy about X, Y, and Z. But I would argue that, when you look at the background of many, you tend to find at least about this New Age movement. Yeah, you find other things. Some of them are, women-wise, but not exclusively so, but mainly so. Eastern Star. And then, of course, Freemasonry, generally for the males, but essentially Eastern Star and various other supposedly female-focused variants. It's still Freemasonry, yeah? And then you add to that, you start finding out that many of them are like Satanists or, because they may be involved in one aspect of the occult, but they're also interested in other aspects of the occult. Anyway, they, shall we say, even behind the scenes wear many hats. And obviously maybe, I could be a lot more descriptive, but you've also got to realise these people are quite focused. They really are. So, but I tended to find, just my reasonably short experiences of helping certain friends in security and all the rest of it. And it's not because I was some fucking genius as regards that, but, I applied common sense to something that people had asked me, what's your thoughts on that? Why so many companies going wrong? And, as regards security. And one of the first things I was thinking was, one festival in particular was they were having security from that had just done a shift at Tesco's, for example. This is going back, a number of years. And then the next thing, they're being dropped off at festivals. And I'm just thinking to myself, and you heard this constant description in security or, within security companies of the description, bodies. I need bodies. I need bodies to be here. I need bodies to be there. I need, Anyway, look, let me emphasize, I'm in no way some, security consultant, whatever else, blah, blah, blah. I just happen to, through computing, meet various clients and various other people that, while you're sitting there sorting out software problems and blah, 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 and believe me, I'm not, even then I was just a glorified PC fixer. That was it. And especially, the further the years you go back, the less, shall we say, stable most operating systems and, even when you look at processing power, we're off at tangents. We're nearly 4.5 minutes into this, and you'll be like, Scott, what the hell are you saying here? Few things in life gave you such exposure to people from so many different walks of life, careers, self-employed, business, government sector, religious, you name it, as what I was doing fixing their PCs. And while you were, honestly, sometimes, you could be there for quite a while because, oh God, it's only a wee bit data, but it was, oh, do you know where that data is? No, and oh God, my whole business, whatever, but, and I'll freely admit it, I mean, I wasn't charging vast amounts. It's something we know in reflection, blah, blah, blah. But I go to meet so many different people, and they're sitting there telling you things about their life. And believe me, because you were listening to the cares and woes and thoughts and motivations and everything else in between, you became more useful to various others. You wouldn't mention names, but you would say, well, I've got a client that, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I no longer do any of this, but certainly not in that setting, but I learned an awful lot of useful information that you could share data with others. Look, I have one, client, blah, blah, blah. What he was finding time and time again was the following X, Y, and Z. So over time, people would, well, I know it's nothing to do with you, Scott, but look, I've got a security company, I've got problems with staff, I've got, whatever. They notice you were an observer of people's life, things like that. So, you just, look, can I ask you to just, and this was before the SIA, so we're, up until the point of 2007. It's just examples of what I did. It's certainly up until that point. And so I go into situations and just watch, And because I generally go on with people, because, I like to see the best in people. Anybody I I meet or whatever else, first and foremost, I look to see the best in them, while at the same time being well aware that, well, people disappoint. I've obviously disappointed over years from various things. It's part of growing up, blah, blah, blah. But some people learn that far quicker than others, and just some people will never learn that, whatever. But personalities, body language, you name it. And for those short appearances that I was asked to help, for example, one individual, a friend that was putting together a security company and, with the best of intentions, and, he was very effective straight out the box because he'd worked for various other people, and, he had his own thoughts or two about how to, well, manage better and avoid obvious weaknesses. So, but while I was on the surface doing that, I was looking in the background of some of these festivals. I'm looking at the punters, because after all, you're there supposedly to, to make sure, security wise, everybody's having a good time, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I realised very quickly, even then, but I was pretty aware of the occultists before that, but I absolutely realised that there was a network within all these festivals that people met up. Many of them, honestly, they were working as, fairly senior positions in universities and other, councils, you name it, blah, 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 but we're turning up to these things. Obviously, most people didn't know who they were, blah, blah, blah. Many of them actually, even although they were making decent money, I found were actually, to make their time at a certain festival cheaper, they would do some work there, whether it was staffing a ticket this or whatever else that we're doing throughout these little festivals. And they're not so little, many of them. But you realise there's a bloody network there, big style. And what I also noticed, it was very much like The Wicker Man. Honestly, no jokes. And I'm talking about the original. Fuck this, shenanigans of that remake. But you tended to find a lot of them actually loved films like that the whole feeling, I mean, you look at that film, and I haven't watched it in years, but there is an awful lot of people with very rosy thoughts about that, even although let's be honest, it's quite disturbing, and let's face it, they burn a copper who they've literally, whether he realised it or not, made him appear in that island, break his legs, put him into this wicker man, And also remember various farm animals, because of like fertility and growing crops and all the rest of it. I mean, it's dark stuff, yeah? But I would argue what you're looking at is occultism, paganism, Pan, because remember Pan, Great Pan, all the rest of it. I mean, it's and of course they come across as Care Bears. I'm not joking you. Think about this: the Garden of Eden, blah blah blah, which is this one, this festival, right? And I'm seeing the snake, I'm seeing the all-seeing eye, and it's this, and of course you also notice this purple, which I've said, you look at the parliaments, and I would argue, honestly, when you look at the background of many, it's Eastern Star, Wicca, witchcraft, you name it, honestly, Wicca, I mean, really, the females anyway. But remember, as many of us have said over the years, you work out that Freemasonry and witchcraft is but one and the same. Much of what they do, the ceremonies and the so mote it be, and the rituals are very similar. And of course, I'm selling this to no one, but this is another one of the same link. And yet again, I will, notice this sort of colour, purpley, this, and of course this new age, this, back to nature, this new age movement, and I'm sorry, this wasn't Scotland, right? Hey, I lived in places like the West Coast in the 80s. Argyll, yeah, there was plenty of these loons there, absolutely, but there was others. But yeah, these people aren't Care Bears, this secret forest. Yeah, workshops. They're recruiting places for the gullible to get within that sort of 10%. And especially useful idiots in public institutions, councils, you name it. And I still think, honestly, probably because I've finally finished it recently, Atlas Shrugged, and they essentially they're stopping the engine of the world to create this new Eden, yeah. And there's not a lot of empathy when you think about it. What they're doing to the general public out there, because many of these supposed Care Bears that go to these festivals are involved in governmental or council jobs that quite literally, on a daily basis, can mean the difference between life and death of the recipients, yeah. And they sleep like babies about it, because they go to these places and they've got these networks, and, hey, look, this is part of transformational change. You've got to be a part of this, because you're loved by us. They've got these secret, or on the surface they feel these families, I'm not joking you, and I'm obviously not selling this, but here's another one. Same fucking link, right? Same link, yeah? Under fair use. Now, think about what they're saying here. This is the reeling, yeah? Another one of the festivals, but let me, under fair use, play you some of this.
Welcome to our world. A place of feeling. A rad trad music festival called The Reeling. In amongst the trees
where nature abounds. Think about it. Think about councils. Think about what they're doing. Think about governments. Think about local and national. Yeah, everything they're doing is not natural. Putting solar they call it farms. Think about it. They've even sold it to you that it's a type of farming, solar farming. Quite literally destroying farmland while putting on pretty pish poor, vastly inefficient, and certainly not on this fucking island any use, solar panels. But you've got to have these useful underlings in every fucking town and city across the UK, all doing their bit for Gaia, Mother Earth. Because trust me, they despise everybody else. Look at what they're doing to the public on a daily fucking basis. The misery ongoing. because of this building block of life that they've demonized, the arrogance of that, demonizing one of the most important building blocks of life, CO2. If you didn't have any of that, you'd have no plant life, and we'd be done shortly after, or during its extinction. Plant life needs CO2, and it's 0.04% of the atmosphere, and this is pretty fucking low.
Abounds.
Where nature abounds.
Not far from the city, an escape can be found.
See, because remember, 15-minute cities, misery, all the rest of it, 20-minute neighbourhoods, but hey, if you're part of our wee club, you know, you can get that bit of escapism.
You can take your dad, your mum, your gran, the Waynes and all, or go...
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people that go to these festivals having no fucking clue about what they truly are about. Yeah? But a lot of the 10%ers go to these things as well. And they truly aren't Care Bears. They truly aren't. Really, seriously.
With all your favourite pals and dance until you fall. We offer you our common weal and music's right to roam. Wherever you're from, welcome here. Welcome home. Abandon all those inhibitions.
Abandon all those inhibitions. And yet, remember, the very fuckers that go to these, many of them, are in positions that are putting more and more restrictions on thought and speech and way of life and history and all the rest of it. Abandon all these inhibitions. This is about, you know, the release for them of any kind of responsibility, you know, seriously, while pushing misery on others. I'm not joking you. If you look at the detail.
Come to where the light lurks. The sun goes down and things get wild, but that's just how the night works.
Remember, can't say anything, you know, because you might offend somebody, possibly hurty words, all the rest of it. And by the day, yeah, if you don't go with the current trend, you know, the men can be women, whatever else, that are you a climate denier? You know, all so many things that, you know, by the day they're like, no, we need to get rid of meat, we need to get rid of eggs, we need to get rid of chickens, we need to get rid of this, we need to get rid of that, we need to all eat bugs, we need to embrace things like soya, blah, 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 for Gaia Earth and all the rest of it. And you look at what's happening to cities, they're becoming more soulless by the day, and all this architecture destroyed, replaced by boxes, and, you know, and collectivism on steroids. Meanwhile, this is this illusion of freedom. Yeah. You know, cast aside your concerns.
A reel is a type of tune, the healing kind.
The healing. Oh God, when I looked at some of these fucking festivals and the, you know, healing crystals and the, you know, these workshops, and they're looking for the gullible fuckwits that they can then indoctrinate into the New Age movement, etc., etc. I'm telling you, it's fucking scary how many people out there are blissfully aware of at least one facet of the networks that are bringing in more draconian laws by the day. And we're on the back of the queue of everything, because unless it's to do with this new Eden, the destruction of everything we've held dear to be replaced, and they sell it as this, but what's the reality? Seriously, look around you, yeah? Ultimately, it's vampiric. It's ball deep in the occult. And what is this with purple as well? Honestly, even when you look at all the symbolism, the all-seeing eye, I mean, the mockery on steroids. Is any of that natural? Really? The snake, if you missed it there. 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 You know, the all-seeing eye. Seriously. Honestly. It's there in plain sight for those with eyes to see. And I'll speak to you soon.